My name is Monish Manoharan, and I'm excited to host this event, which, in my view, is a small step taken by LogicServe Digital.
Yeah, thank you, Monish. Thank you, Monish. And hi, everyone. Uh, am I audible? Okay. So it's important for all of us to understand the changes that GA4 is bringing, and we need to adopt them very quickly. So marketers need to act now to avoid losing the opportunity to collect the data. Okay, now GA4, it's not just the upgrade, but it's a fundamental shift in how the GA records the data. And there is a change in marketing metrics as well, on which all of us so far, we are relying on. Okay, so we are heading very fast towards the cookieless future. All major browsers will automatically block third-party cookies. Some of the browsers, as you know, like Safari, has already taken that decision, and even Google Chrome will do that very soon. There is a shift to privacy-first approach. So the question for marketeers is, how can we actively interact with our target customers while respecting their data privacy? So GA4 implementation would be your one major step towards that readiness. Okay, so now you will have so many questions, right? So why my GA universal data is not matching with GA4, or why some reports I used to see in GA universal is not being seen in GA4, or it could be which report I need to use BigQuery, what kind of a BigQuery expertise level I need to have. Okay, and so on and so forth. So you will have these questions, and which means you have started moving to GA4, and that's a great. Okay, so Google has made good documentations around it and good readiness material available. So make best use of that. Okay, so it's important to note for all of us that to make GA4 implementation successful, the GA4 expertise alone is not sufficient. We are saying this after delivering more than 100 GA projects. While knowledge of platform is important, you also need to have the business understanding. What it means is what's my core business is, what my the website is designed, what my user journey is, what events, what I need to be tracking in the reports. So just mimicking the others is not going to help. So just don't actually, somebody has done this, don't just blindly copy that part. It's also important that you need to have some bit of understanding of the Google marketing platform and GA4 integration with DV360, Google Ads, etc. You need to also have bit of a knowledge on GCP, and BigQuery will be very advantageous for you. The marketeer part, which is the business side of it, also need to have good ability to interpret the data and provide the quick and up feedback to the implementation team. Okay, and it's also important that it's you need to have the equal participation from the business team. You to have the participation from the development team, and sometimes it's IT team involvement is also required. So typically, if you see, these roles belong to very different departments or business units. So which means you should have the executive sponsor to deliver G implementation project on time. Because to control all these different roles and departments, there has to be somebody who has an authority to control all of them. And then on top of it, you must have the good project management skills. And why we are calling this out and criticality is because it's a race against time. On July 2023, okay, GA Universal will stop processing the data. It means if we fast forward to 14th December 2023, that is 1 year from today, you need to have quality and sufficient GA4 data to make the decision. Delay in implementation or incorrect implementation will lead to poor business decision, and it might cost you a business. Okay, so we can cover many of these aspects in future sessions. But for today, let's first focus on knowing the platform.
Okay. So this is basically a demo account of Google Analytics 4, which has been provided by Google, and each one of us can actually access to this demo account and make ourselves acquainted with the GA4 console before we actually even implement our own GA4 analytics. The second part would cover the standard admin panel on the bottom left corner of your screen on GA4 console in Google Merchandise Store. So if you click on that, so you'll be able to see this very familiar screen that we all were looking at even in Universal Analytics, correct? But there is one difference that probably we all would be able to notice on the screen compared to Universal Analytics. Okay, so in Universal Analytics, we had account, property, as well as views, which probably now, if you see on the screen, the view column is not present. Okay, you are able to see account, you are able to see property, but there are no views. So with GA4, there would be sub properties under the property, but this feature as of now is exclusively available only for GA4 360 customers. So I'm not saying that it won't be made available for GA4 standard users since GA4 is ever evolving. Of course, there is a possibility it might come, but again, there is a possibility it may not even come. Okay, so for now, we have only this property under the account. So what are the options available under account? Again, these are very similar to what we had in Universal Analytics, that is making some account related settings or managing the account related accesses, whether you want to share some maybe edit or the admin access to some other users, adding or removing certain filters at the account level. So which are very much familiar to we all, right? Because we had used this in Universal Analytics. Now, moving on to the property settings, which has probably many changes as compared to Universal Analytics, because the first one that you can see is Setup Assistant. This is basically to help you understand how you can do some basic setup of GA4 account, that is creating a property or something like that, but not a detailed custom solutioning which is present over there. So since that is not the agenda of this discussion, so we'll not get into the Setup Assistant, because again, we are already into the GA4 property, so we need not get into that as well. Now, the first thing is the property setting, which is a very basic one, wherein we can set up our property name, industry category of our probably business, the reporting time zone that we would want to use, and the currency in which we want to see our revenue details, correct? So these are very basic details that we can see. Again, these fields are grayed out for me because this is a demo account, which wherein I have only the view access. There is no admin access. Okay, so when you have admin access, you would be able to even edit all these things over here. So the next thing that we have is importantly the data stream. So earlier in the previous just around 10-15 minutes back, Shlok was talking about how GA4 is actually going to offer us this cross-device journeys, right? Cross-platform journeys, basically between web and app, wherein you will be able to unify the user across platforms or the devices. So this is where you are going to actually add both the streams in the single property, whether it's related to your website or related to your app. And again, within the app, either it could be iOS or the Android. So you can see all these options over here. So this is the list of streams that are configured under this particular property. So this property, as you can see, has only the website for which the data is getting collected. There is no app related data. However, like if you want to add a stream, you can just click on add stream, which is grayed out for me right now. So you can click on add stream and get started with the next steps which are present over there. Now, what is in this particular stream? Okay, if I click on the stream, okay, which is probably sending data right now to this analytics property, and whatever numbers or maybe reports that I'm seeing are coming from this particular website, like the data is representing this particular website, the shop.googlemerchandisestore.com. Now, this is again basically the stream name, this is the stream URL, and this is the stream ID. But now, the most important thing is this measurement ID. So whenever you're actually interacting with your developers, wherein they'll be needing these IDs at times for the configuration. So this becomes an important ID which you need to share with your developers. Moving on to the next, okay. Now, if we see, there are the further options like events, conversions, audiences, etc. So these options were earlier available in Google's configure section, which is present over here on the left hand side panel. Okay, so as GA4 is again ever evolving, you can see maybe you can witness one such change which has been recently done, that all this configure section settings have been migrated or maybe moved into the admin panel. Okay, so what this admin panel or maybe this particular settings would show us. Let's click on events and figure it out. So I've clicked on events, and once the screen is loaded, you'll be able to see like the list of events that have been configured into this Google Analytics property that we are currently viewing, this Google Merchandise Store property. Okay. So these are various list of events that are actually sending data to your analytics property, and against those event names, you'll be able to see certain count of events. Okay. How many times actually that event was hit, how many times actually user have actually engaged with that particular event that you have configured, and there is a percentage change that you can see against each of those events. So this percentage change is basically against a comparative previous period, against which it is showing that okay, this has increased by 47% or 50%, and similar is the case with the users. So you can again change the date range over here, and if you change the date range, you'll be able to see the differences. So from last 28 days, I'm just selecting the last 7 days for an example, and you will see the differences in the numbers. Like it was showing around 8,500 earlier, and now it is showing 3,200 for last 7 days, which is a 75% change on a positive side compared to the previous 7 day period. That is 30th November to 6th of December. Okay. And same is the case with users and the related change as well. Now moving on to the next, that is conversion. So many of us, or maybe all of us, in fact, would be able to relate with this fact that in Universal Analytics, we had a concept called as goals, right? So if you look at GA4, there are no specific goals as such. So you can mark certain events as the conversion events, which would actually act as an goal for you. Okay, so in this particular Google Analytics property, they have marked almost 8 events as the conversion events, out of which almost 3 of them, if you look at bottom two and this particular one, if you look at the cursor, so these 3 events basically are not capturing any data. There are no conversions recorded in this three. So practically only 5 conversion events are actually collecting some data. Okay, and again, the numbers, that is count numbers or the change numbers, the logic remains same that we were discussing in events. You have the date range and you would be able to compare that. Okay, if you change the date range, the numbers would change. Moving on to the next, if I click on audiences, okay, so you will be able to see the audiences that have been created. In Universal Analytics also, we used to create those audiences for our remarketing purposes, which we could actually share on different advertising platforms for retargeting, right? So as Shlok was also earlier mentioning that we have further integration possibilities within GA4. So with Google Analytics 3, Universal Analytics, we had integration only with Google Ads, right, as a marketing platform. Again, Search Console was there, but marketing platforms only Google Ads. But when it comes to GA4, we have integration possibilities with Google Ads, DV360, as well as Search Ads 360, wherein we'll be able to, these platforms would also be able to access these audiences that we are creating in GA4, if at all we have integrated these platforms with GA4. Okay. Again, the logic for this count of users, change, etc., everything remains same. Now, if you want to actually see what conditions have actually triggered while creating these audiences, so you can click on these 3 dots, which are on the right hand side, click on view, and you'll be able to see the conditions that have been actually configured over here. The second part now, let's click on this reports and look at some standard reports that are available in GA4. Okay. So I've clicked on this reports and another panel has opened with wherein you can see a quite familiar screen, I would say, with just the change in the naming convention, wherein we'll be able to see some real-time reports, acquisition, engagement, monetization, retention, etc. So engagement is nothing but like which we had as a behavior in Universal Analytics, with of course certain changes in the reporting structure as the measurement model for GA4 has changed from session-based in Universal Analytics to event-based in GA4. Uh, then convergence is basically your monetization, and then there are additions of retention. Okay, demographics and tech, again, these were part of your audience reports earlier in Universal Analytics. So that's not a new thing. It's just that it has been highlighted as a separate thing now in GA4. Okay, so let's go to the first thing. Okay, the real-time reports. So if I click on real-time reports, again, you'll be able to see what is happening on your website in real time. How many users were active? Where are they coming from? Like which platform are they using? Whether it's mobile, desktop, or tablet. There are certain report cards that you can see over here, which can be changed depending on the requirement that you would have for creating the reports. Like for example, here is an option that is user by first user source. So if you click on this particular down arrow over here, there are multiple options that you would see that you can change from first user source, which is the default selection over here. You can change it to maybe first user medium, first user source or medium, first source platform, first user campaign, from where the user was actually acquired in the initial stage. So if you click over there, your report would change, or maybe the numbers over here that you are seeing on the screen would change. And depending on what you have selected, the numbers would be presented. So similar is the case with all these report cards that you can see in the real-time section. Okay. Let's move on to the the next section, which is the life cycle reports. So the first one is acquisition. So because in any user life cycle or maybe the website life cycle, we have first report or maybe the first thing that is acquiring the users. Okay. So if we click on acquisition overview as a tab, so this is the screen that you'll be able to see. So in terms of like how many total users, and out of which like how many new users were there in this particular date range, that is for 28 days. Okay. These other parameters are basically wherein you can edit this comparison. So you can add certain comparisons to compare the report which is present on your screen. You can share the report with maybe your fellow colleagues in the office. You can share the link, right? If you have edit access, you'll be able to also download the report and share it in a required format. There is a section called as insights also, wherein you'll be able to get some basic insights about the reports that you can see over here. Again, I'm not saying that these are the nirvana. Okay, it's not that these insights would fulfill or maybe answer all of your questions related to data analytics or maybe the marketing analytics piece. These would only be the basic parameters or maybe basic insights that you would get to get started with it. Of course, you will always need a data analytics or the marketing analytics expert to read through the data and interpret it for your business. Okay. However, to get into this insight section, there are various questions that you would find over here. If you click on these questions, any of these questions, there would be some predefined answer that GA4 with its algorithms would have generated, which you can see. Moving on to the next, that is user acquisition first user source. Okay, that is basically when you acquire a user for the first time. So what was the channels that actually contributed to getting those new users on board for you? This is how you'll be able to see this report according to all the campaigns that you have in all the sources that you have. And again, this is a very much familiar table that you would see, which was available even in Universal Analytics, right? So here also you'll be able to see all that data wherein from a particular source that we can see on the left-hand side as a primary dimension, how many new users, engaged sessions, or the engagement rate, engagement sessions per user, etc., etc. If you just keep on scrolling to the right-hand side, okay, and even the revenue at the end. There is one more thing that if you have edit access, okay, to the analytics property, you would find one more option that is to add or maybe remove certain columns in this particular report that you're seeing. So you will be able to see some more relevant metrics which are required for your data interpretation or maybe the analysis or maybe the calculation of ROI and whatnot. Um, Again, in GA4, there is a possibility that you will be able to also change this primary dimension in which you are seeing this report. Okay, so here it is first user default channel group as the default primary dimension that has been selected, but you will be able to select any of this, dimensions as your primary dimensions to see this report. If you click on this plus section, you will be able to customize this. You will be able to add the secondary dimensions. Say, for example, I want to add age as a secondary dimension over here. So I'm just clicking on age. And as you can see on the screen, you will be able to see age being defined over here for certain channel, for certain sources. Okay. So this is how you'll be able to play with the data that is present in GA4 console. Traffic acquisition is nothing but basically it talks about all of the traffic that is maybe that has been acquired into your Google Analytics property. Sorry for that pop-up. I'll have to refresh this a bit. Okay. Traffic acquisition talks about all of the users, not just the first users on that we were seeing in the earlier report. So you'll be able to see the traffic getting acquired from like all of the sources and all of the traffic, not just talking about a specific group of users or maybe the specific cohort. Okay. Now, in this particular section, let's talk about how you can actually add comparisons. Okay, on the top of your screen, you'll be able to see this add comparison as an option. So if you click on this add comparison option, the screen will pop up on your right hand side, wherein you'll be able to select a dimension. Say again, let's continue with the same example of say age, and probably I'm trying to add age over here. In this, it is showing me an option to select the age groups also. That is, could be between say 25 to 34 or 35 to 44, 18 to 24, anything. Right. So depending on the requirements, probably we would select these age groups and click on OK, and then click on apply. Okay. Now you'll be able to see there is another line that has been added on this chart, wherein you'll be able to see the age groups, people falling between this age group of 25 to 34. What was the contribution of those users? Like how many users were falling between that particular age group? And if you scroll down, you'll also be able to see that split for each of the sources, each of the sources that are actually contributing to your traffic. So all users count probably was for direct was this much in last 28 days. At the same time, the age group that we had selected, that is 25 to 44, is contributing around just 10% of the users, that is 8% approximately campaigns. Lastly, the attribution. So, which was in Universal Analytics, also we witnessed the attribution thing, wherein we had options of multiple attribution models, and deciding which attribution model will actually work for my business was a task, right? So, with GA4 now, you'll be able to see numbers depending on the different attribution models in one single table, wherein if you just click on this maybe down arrow, you will have options to click select the different attribution models that are available. And depending on the attribution models that you select, probably your data, of course, or maybe the conversion related attribution would change, because depending on the attribution model that you select, Google Analytics will define which channel is actually getting you the conversions, which is contributing most to your conversions. Okay, so depending on the requirements, depending on our business models, you can always select the different attribution models. You can compare the data after selecting the particular attribution models, how the data looks like. In case you need to make a decision, you can make a decision based on the data and not just on the basis of some assumptions. The last tab under the console walkthrough is the conversion paths under the attribution, wherein you will be able to see how the conversions are happening, what path the users are taking most frequently to convert on your website. And as against, you can also see the numbers that are popping up over here in this table. All right, so that was about the GA4 console. I hope the GA4 console is no more newbie for you.
So this is again a merchandise center, site, flood it. It has both application and website. And I think Mohit has already given a detailed walkthrough on this. So I think you're quite familiar with this. I'm directly jumping on to explore section. So as I said, that GA4 is all about combining app and website data to unify the user journey. So I want to, for example, know the users from my app and website in a single platform. So how we can configure that? So I'll just go to Explorer section. Those who have already downloaded or added Merchant Center, you please follow the instructions. So I'm going a bit slow here. And here you see the blank. So this is like a blank sheet for you. You want to create any reports or any custom reports that you wanted to create. Then it is a free form funnel exploration and path exploration. Funnel exploration basically shows about the user journey through the conversions. And free form is always about that covers insights cover the custom charts and tables. So I'm going to, for example, create one simple report using this blank sheet to basically what is my user for both an app, right? So if I go there, I will basically search, for example, platform. It is very handy and it does not require. So this platform is there. Okay, I need to basically click on this import. And then in the matrix, I just need to configure the users, right? So this is total users. So I wanted to know what is the bifurcation of my users for both the devices. So you can just select this one metric and one dimension, import it, change the date. For example, I want to select the date from 1 to 30th, apply it. You need to double click here so that it comes in rows and you will see the total users. Android users is 558,008, iOS is and web. So you can also build some complex reports depending on what kind of insights that you want to drive. For example, if you want to know how many users from Android have purchased, so if the purchase event is already configured for your website or app, you can also select in some metrics. So there are different metrics or different dimensions you can just do, and you can just slice and dice, search, and it very comes handy. So this way, this requires a little bit of your, what objective, what you want to basically configure in the reports. So this is a simple report. I thought many audiences are there. So I think I will not go into the complexities of the report, but any report, any complex report, if you like us to configure, you please reach out to us offline and we will help you in configuring that. So any questions on that, or is it clear? No questions? This is how we basically create report in Explorer sections. And this is one simple. Another example is, for example, I want to create another custom a report for segment overlap. So what I'll do is I'll again go to Explorer. Create this blank. Here you see the technique. So which technique I want to select? Segment overlap. Okay. So what is segment overlap? So basically segment overlap visualizes the relationship between the three segments. Here you can select up to three segments. And based on the segment selections, it will show and it will visualize the data. So this is nothing but a segment overlap. So that means, in other words, an analysis technique that visualizes the relationship between multiple segments of users is known as segment overlap. This shows the relationship between three segments that we have created, and it comes out to be very beautiful, visualization. So it shows the users of Android users, how many of them are male, and they're from India specifically. So it shows the relationship between three of these, and for further details, you will see all these numbers here. So this kind of, these are some simple reports. However, you can also create some complex segmentations. Okay, if you want to understand, what is going on inside, if you get into that depth of the reporting and you want to create a custom report for yourself, depending on your business needs, okay, then use that Explorer, drag and drop. If the right metrics and dimensions are getting collected for your website, if they are rightly configured, then obviously the data should be readily available. If the data is not readily available, then you cannot create a report. And that is why you need expertise help in deciding what kind of KPIs you need to track and what proper schemas or data structure need to be followed while setting up tags, so that all the data should be available for consumptions. You can easily consume the data. So let's go to the interface of Google Analytics. You will see something similar on that. Okay, here you will see a blue icon button. Just click on that blue button. You will see the pop-up here. Select property. Very simple step. Name the property. say logic serve webinar. Okay. Educational. If we are in United States, obviously we are in based out of India, so we can select India here, not in US dollar. So we can select Indian rupees. Okay. And then we select next. These are by default some of the questions you can either skip or you can help Google understand your organizations better. So better you just, these are all optional fields. You can, however, skip it. So let's see, we see here, and we want to measure customer engagement site, whatever, depending on why you want to set up GA4. So Google wants to know the reason for it. Create this. You will be prompted with this screen. So if you have Android application, you can select app. If you want to use iOS, you can use app. If you want to use web, you can use web. However, you can, if you want to use both, all three platforms, you can select all the platforms. For our, I think, educational purpose, we select web. Now you will get prompted with this interface. So for your, just give the name of your website. So in our case, it is Logics of Digital. So I will say remove the HTTPS, ls digital. Okay, so this is this is how you can just put the name of your website, stream name, and these are basically enhanced measurement. Automatically the page view, the scroll depth, outbound clicks, site search. If your website has site search functionality, it will track video engagement, file downloads, form interactions. All these by default will get interacted. So you don't have to really worry about tracking all this through Google Tag Manager. Rather, by default, these many events will be tracked. This is the measurement ID. Google gives you the option to copy that. This is the icon that you are seeing. So we need to copy that icon. OK. And then we can come out of this. Then we can go to Google Tag Manager. We can create a new container. And again, this is lsdigital.com. We need to select web. If it is for website, then we need to create there are two pieces of code Google offers. You need to basically you need to give this code to your developer to get them embedded into the HTML pages of a website as per the instruction. So your developer understands where they need to put the codes. Okay, so it is basically in the header section, and one is no script is after opening the body section of your website. Once this is implemented, okay, here, once this is implemented, then only you need to create a tag. Since it is a newly created GTM container, want to add new tag GA4 standard. Select, you will see some drop down. So if this is for universal analytics, you don't have to select this option. Rather, you need to select this option, GA4 configuration. Click on this. And as I spoke to you that there is measurement ID that we have to copy, right? So we have already copied this measurement ID. You remember. OK, once we do this, we need to set up a trigger condition. So if you click on this, already Google suggests all page content initialization of contents and all that, right? So let's select all pages. Save it. And submit it GA4 standards deployment 1. Once you publish the container, that means you have successfully implemented the tags. And how you debug that tag? You can go to the debug view here, as Mohit has shown in admin section. And here you will see debug view. So we just go to admin section. Here you see the audience, right? So 2 audiences are already created, but we will tell you how to create one more audience, but depending on, what kind of audience you want to create for your retargeting purposes. So for example, we want to create and target users from organic search. Okay, so this is again, we can create create custom audience, include users. So we can search default. Here you see the traffic source user scope. We have to select that user scope. We are building we are retargeting an audience for organic search, right? So organic users for how many days? 30 days. We can create and save it. The moment we save it here and create the audience, here it shows organic users. The moment we create and show the users, if this Google Ads is linked to your GA4 account, in that case, where we can see, you don't have to import. In Universal Analytics, you needed to import it, but here you don't need to. Once you create the audience, you can see in Google. If you have opened to Google Ads console, you just go to that Google Ads console. It is taking time to load. Go to click on tool. Here you will see audience manager. You're seeing that, right? Click on that. And you will see organic users and all that. So any audience that you create, you will be able to see automatically here, which you can use it for retargeting. Select any ad campaigns that you want to run the campaign and push it to live. Very simple. So this is how you can create an audience. You don't need to import it automatically. If it is linked, Google Ads account is linked to your GA4, automatically you can see the audience here and you can select, launch the campaign and retarget the audience, organic user audience, or whatever audiences that you're building. So this is one way of building audiences. Another way of building audiences is I click, for example, I want to target only India country. I go to that. And here you see the build an audience. So you can also build the audience while setting up reports basis on your needs. Build an audience for 30 days. Save and publish. That's it. So you are able to save not only the report, but also the audience. And to create an audience, you can apply multiple conditions as well. You can even narrowly focus some metrics and dimensions to create your audience, save and publish. That's it. And in the audience section, your audience will get imported in Google Ads. So this is how you can create an audience while setting up reports and import it to Google once your Google Ad account is linked to GA4. This comes very handy. So this is, I think, all about this session.